In this video, I'm going to show you how to use the various built-in modal functions inside the Fluro builder. So if you don't know what a modal is, it's the technical term that developers use when they do a pop-up window, or some people call it like a light box. But I'm just going to quickly show you how you can use some built-in functions in Fluro to save you a whole bunch of time if you're building apps and kind of custom tools and things. So to start with, I'm just going to add a custom component and drop it on the screen. And I'm going to get rid of kind of the example stuff that we've got here. I'm going to add a Fluro button, just because it's the easiest way to do this. I'm going to go open a modal. I'm going to do, where is it? Open a prompt and open a confirmation, and another one for open options. So these are the 4 different kind of modals that we can do. And I'm just going to get rid of all of the stuff in here because it's not relevant for us at the moment. So we'll just get rid of all of this. And all we really need is methods. Now, the first one I'm going to do is just this really simple one, which is open confirmation. And I'm just going to make a method called confirm. And we'll just add on here an @click. So when they click it, we want to run the confirm function. So that's cool. And here, I'm just going to use self equals this, so we can use the word self and it's scoped correctly with JavaScript. And I'm going to do self.fluro.app.confirm. Now this takes a few different arguments. We're just going to do a really simple one, which is, are you sure you want to do this? And that's the first argument, which is the question we're going to ask them to confirm. And then we can add a comma, and we can add a bit more description as well. This may have unintended consequences. And I'll just make our screen a little bit big because we're doing some coding by minimizing the right-hand side. And what this function returns is a promise. So we can do .then, and we'll have our answer in here, and then we can do .catch, which will be, we might have an error or the person might have just dismissed it. So we can just say, we'll do a console log dismissed, and we'll, sorry about that. And we can write dismissed, which is the person closed the window, and there may be an error, there may not be. And the then, if we do console log answered, we can write the answer, and basically we can assume that they've confirmed if this happens. So I'm just going to open up my inspector by right-clicking on the screen and clicking inspect, and it's going to tell me that I've got a bunch of errors while I was writing that code. But we've got the confirm function, so if I hit open confirmation, you'll see, hey, are you sure you want to do this? This may have unintended consequences. And if I click cancel, you'll see it was dismissed. There's actually no error, it was just, this is the catch that we didn't confirm it. And if we click open confirmation again and click confirm, it'll have, it was answered. Okay, so I was wrong, there isn't actually an answer at that point. I might as well just leave that there anyway. So now we've got the confirm function there. And now let's look at the next one. We'll do options. This is the next simple one. We'll get open options. And on the options one here, we can do @click. We want to fire the open options method. Now, to do this one, it's self.$fluro.app.options. And the arguments are a little bit different for this one. Basically, we want to pass through an array of options. So let's create the we'll write answers. It might make more sense to people. So we're going to create an array of answers, and we might go answers.push. The first option we want is have a title option 1 and a value of I don't know, it could be like, we'll just keep it simple as a string, but this can actually be like complex objects or references to people or IDs or anything like that. We can do option 2 and go 2 there, and we can do option 3, and that can be 3 here. Now, it's very similar. Fluro.app.options will return a then So it's a promise, so it'll return a promise, so then we can then it and say, okay, what answer did they pick, and catch if they cancelled or closed the modal. So if we click open options, you can see we've got option 1, option 2, and option 3. And if we click option 3, you'll see we actually get the whole object, everything that was passed in as the answer. So if we wanted to add our own custom data here, we can also, or we could literally just, let's say we had an array of contacts and we want to select a contact or something, we can just pass through that array straight in here and it'll sort itself out. One other little thing worth mentioning in here is you can add a description, and you can go, this is option 1, something like that. And if you click open options now, it'll look a little bit different. Before, you'll see it was just like blue buttons, which would match the buttons in your style sheet for your website. But once you add a description, you'll actually get these kind of buttons, which will have a bold title and then a little bit of a description, so you can provide a bit more information about what you want the person to do. And there's a cancel down here, so if they click cancel and they don't answer, obviously just the same as before. So that's the second kind of modal we can do. Now this one's a little bit more complicated, but and I think there's another video that goes into in depth. But if we say open custom modal, call that function like that, we can go to this one, click open custom modal like that, and we'll just make it a little bit clearer for the people at home as well. And because it's annoying me a little bit, I'm just going to add the block attribute so that they fit the screen, because it was looking a little bit strange. Now, open custom modal is very similar, so I'm just going to grab this down here. But to open a custom modal, we want to use the self.fluro.app.modal, and what that does is it takes one argument, which is actually an options object, and here we provide the options, and I think there's a couple of things of like whether you can click the backdrop to hide it or some other things. We also provide a component. Now here, this is where it gets a little bit tricky. We actually want to provide the name of a component that's going to be opened up. So we can say custom component like that. We can pass through options. Let's just say like name is Daffy Duck, just for example's sake. We can pass through as many options as we like in here. And we need to create the component. So I'm going to make sure I've got Pro mode turned on so I can get to the components section. If I click components over here, I'm going to add a new component, call it custom component. And this is important. Up here where it says custom component, that's got to match the same name that we're opening up. But essentially up here we're going to have, we don't need to have any particular props or anything, but I'm just going to do a real simple pre, and we'll spit out our options object. And if we click the open custom modal, you'll see it pops up and says, hey, the name is Daffy Duck. And if we do, I don't know, age is 50, something like that, then if we open the custom modal, you'll see we also get those details. So it's kind of basically popping up a modal and then handing off the details to this custom component where you can do whatever you want. Agree, disagree, and if we open up that custom modal, we've got these two buttons, and we can style that, and obviously in our custom component we can style all those things. But what also happens is when we do a custom modal, we will mix in two methods into your component. One is a close method, so we can do close, and the other one is a dismiss method, which is basically the person just wants the modal to go away. Same as clicking the backdrop, so it just hides the modal. Now in the close we can actually return a value. It could be a simple string, it could be you could call close from another method and pass through an object or a promise or anything like that. We're just going to write agree, and instead of writing dismiss here, I'm going to write disagree, and then we'll go back by clicking over here to our custom component. We're going to get answered, and let's click open custom modal and click agree, and you'll see, hey, we answered agree, so that came back and fired this. So all of these modals fire a promise. Now that's cool if you have some custom needs and you want to build your own specific kind of modal that, I don't know, looks cool or does extra functionality, loads things, spins, and does all kinds of cool things. But sometimes you also may not want to have to create your entire component just to get some input from someone. So I'm going to show you the last option for modals, which is it's called a prompt. I'm not sure what I'd call it here. We'll just call it prompt here as well. And I'm going to do @click and go prompt. And this is self.fluro.app.modal. Instead of modal, we're going to change that to prompt. And the arguments here is we pass through an array of fields. So I'll just create that array here, fields equals this. And this follows the Fluro form fields API, which we should be able to get from the Fluro view documentation. So if we open up this, I think it'll be somewhere in the form field API down here. And you've got all these different options. So you can see we've got an example of a field. We'll just copy that from the documentation to keep things fast. And we'll go, here's my field. We'll grab that, and we'll just put that into our array there. So we've got our field, and that's got a field key. Say like select your favorite color, maybe, and we can have green or red. And we'll just add the values as green and red, like this. And we'll do another field as well, and we'll say like, are you sure? Maybe we'll do yes or no. Let's do no and yes. And then we can maybe just add a really simple field, which is first name, and the key can be first name. The minimum maximum could be 1. We can just leave it as a string that they enter. Open prompt, and you'll see, hey, we've got select your favorite color, we've got yes, and we've got test, and we hit continue, and what we get back is an object with all of the keys and values that we've picked. And you can also use expressions here. So if we go expressions, we can pass through a show expression, which is that data.myFieldKey is equal to red, and we'll have to put our special back quotes around that so we can do that. And if we hit open prompt, if we choose red, you'll see that the other option shows up. If we choose green, the option disappears. And that's the 4 different kind of modals that you can use that save you time, so that you don't have to build entire components just to ask the person some questions.